The rain hammered against my apartment window like bullets, but it wasn't loud enough to drown out the sound of my own breathing. Shallow. Panicked. Broken. I pressed my back against the cold kitchen wall, clutching the pregnancy test in my trembling hands, negative, like always, while my phone buzzed relentlessly with another voicemail from Cal. My ex-husband. The man who threw me away like defective merchandise 8 months ago when the doctor said I'd never carry his children. Hey beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel where we dive deep into stories that'll make you feel everything. I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. Seriously, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Are you cozy at home, maybe dealing with your own late-night thoughts? And hey, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, do me a favor and show some love. These stories mean the world to me, and I want to keep sharing them with you. But tonight's story is going to shake you. It's about betrayal so deep it'll make your chest ache, about love so unexpected it'll catch you completely off guard, and about a truth so devastating it changes everything. So grab your tissues, get comfortable, and let's dive in. The thing about being thrown away is that you start to believe you deserve it. For 8 years, I gave Cal everything. I scheduled my life around his ovulation predictions, swallowed hormone pills that made me sick, endured procedure after painful procedure while he sat in waiting rooms scrolling through his phone. When month after month brought nothing but blood and tears, I apologized to him. To his mother. To his entire family who looked at me like I was broken. "Rose, you're defective," his mother had said the day he finally kicked me out. "My son deserves better than a barren woman." And I believed them. I moved into this suffocating studio apartment where the walls are so thin I can hear my neighbor's baby crying at all hours, a sound that feels like glass shards in my chest. I took double shifts at the diner, working until my feet bled, because exhaustion was the only thing that stopped the thoughts. The what-ifs. The maybe I am not woman enough thoughts that followed me everywhere. But tonight, everything changed. I was walking home from my late shift when the storm hit. Rain so violent it felt personal, like the sky was angry specifically at me. I ducked behind Murphy's corner store, fishing for my keys, when I heard it. Crying. Not just any crying, the kind that comes from somewhere deeper than sadness. Terror crying. The kind that makes your maternal instincts scream even when you've been told you'll never need them. I followed the sound around the building, my sneakers splashing through puddles, and found them. 2 kids. Maybe 6 years old. Twins, a boy and a girl, pressed against each other behind the dumpster like they were trying to disappear. Soaked to the bone, shivering, the girl's dark hair plastered to her face while the boy wrapped his tiny arms around her protectively. "Hey," I whispered, crouching down slowly. "Hey, sweethearts, what are you doing out here?" The girl looked up at me with eyes so broken they made my chest crack open. Eyes that had seen too much. The boy just stared, his small body positioned like a shield in front of his sister. "We're hiding," the girl whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. "Daddy's sad again. Really, really sad. And when Daddy gets sad, he forgets about us." Something inside me snapped. Not broke, snapped into place. Like a puzzle piece I didn't know I was missing. "Well, we can't have that," I said, extending my hand. "I live right upstairs. How about we get you dry and warm, and then we'll find Daddy together?" The girl took my hand without hesitation. The boy followed, still watching me with those careful, protective eyes. As I led them up to my apartment, wrapping them in my oversized sweaters and making hot chocolate with hands that suddenly knew exactly what to do, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Useful. Needed. Right. The girl told me their names, Anna and Thomas Blaine, while Thomas sat quietly beside her, never letting go of her hand. Their mother died 2 years ago. Cancer. Their father, Jack, was struggling. Some days he forgot to make dinner. Some nights he cried so hard they had to take care of themselves. "Miss Rose," Anna said, using my name like it meant something precious, "do you think Daddy's looking for us?" Before I could answer, frantic pounding echoed through my apartment door. "Anna. Thomas. Please, if anyone's seen 2 kids." I opened the door to find a man falling apart. Tall, dark hair wild from running his hands through it, clothes soaked, eyes red with panic and exhaustion. The kind of exhaustion that lives in your bones. "They're here," I said quickly. "They're safe." The relief that crashed over Jack Blaine's face was so profound I had to look away. He dropped to his knees as Anna and Thomas ran to him, and I watched this broken father hold his children like they were his entire world. Because they were. But here's what I didn't know yet. What none of us knew as we stood there dripping in my tiny apartment, 3 broken people finding each other in a storm. Everything I believed about myself, every shameful, devastating truth Cal and his family had beaten into me, was about to be exposed as a lie. And the choice I'd have to make would either destroy me completely, or finally set me free. That first night, none of us slept. Jack sat at my tiny kitchen table, cradling a mug of coffee that had gone cold hours ago, while Anna curled up in my lap and Thomas remained stationed by the window like a tiny sentinel watching for danger. The storm outside had calmed, but the one inside Jack's chest was still raging. "I'm a terrible father," he whispered, his voice barely audible. 2 hours. 2 whole hours before I realized they were gone. I studied his profile in the dim lamplight, the strong jaw shadowed with stubble, the way his shoulders carried weight that seemed too heavy for any one person. There were laugh lines around his eyes, but they looked unused, like they belonged to someone he used to be. "You're not terrible," I said, automatically stroking Anna's hair as she dozed against me. "You're grieving." He looked at me then, really looked, and I saw something in his dark eyes that made my chest tight. Recognition. Like he saw the same bone-deep exhaustion in me that I saw in him. "How do you know?" he asked. The question hung between us, loaded with everything neither of us was ready to say. How did I know what it felt like to have your world implode? How did I know what it meant to feel like you were failing at the one thing you were supposed to be good at? "Because I know what it's like to lose everything," I said finally. Thomas turned from the window then, his small face serious beyond his years. "Our mommy had yellow hair like yours, Miss Rose. She made pancakes shaped like butterflies. Anna stirred in my arms. She sang us to sleep every night. Now Daddy tries, but his voice gets all shaky and sad." My heart cracked clean open. These children, these beautiful, brave children, were taking care of their father's feelings while struggling with their own trauma. I recognized that pattern. I'd spent 8 years taking care of Cal's ego while my own dreams withered. "What happened to your mommy?" I asked gently. "Cancer took her," Thomas said with the matter-of-fact tone that children use when they've had to accept something too big for their understanding. "Daddy says she's watching us from heaven, but sometimes I think she's not watching close enough because we keep getting lost." Jack's coffee mug hit the table harder than necessary. "Thomas, that's not." "It's okay, Daddy," Anna said sleepily. "Miss Rose found us. Maybe Mommy sent her." The silence that followed was deafening. Jack stared at me with something that looked dangerously close to hope, and I felt something inside me responding that I hadn't felt in years. Not the desperate, performance-based love I'd given Cal, but something quieter. Steadier. More real. "Tell me about her," I said to Jack. "Your wife." His face softened in a way that transformed him completely. She was light. Pure light. She made everything better just by existing. When she laughed, the whole room lit up. When the kids were scared, she'd make up these elaborate stories about brave princesses and talking animals until they forgot what they were afraid of. "Daddy tells the stories wrong now," Anna mumbled. "He forgets the parts about the happy endings." Jack's shoulders sagged. "I don't know how to do this without her, Rose. Some days I can barely remember to eat, let alone make sure they eat. Yesterday I sent Thomas to school in mismatched shoes and forgot it was Anna's turn for show and tell. Sarah never forgot anything. She had lists for everything, calendars, systems. I can't even find their school forms half the time." "What about family?" I asked. "Parents? Siblings?" "Sarah's parents died in a car accident when she was young. Mine live in Florida and think grief has an expiration date. They keep telling me I need to move on and think about dating again because the kids need a mother." His laugh was bitter. "As if love is that replaceable." I understood that particular knife twist. After Cal left me, everyone had advice about how I should just adopt or focus on my career instead, or maybe this is God's way of telling you something. As if my worth as a woman could be measured in my ability to produce children. "People say stupid things when they don't know how else to help," I said. "What do they say to you?" he asked. "When you lost everything?" The question caught me off guard. I wasn't ready to explain about Cal, about the infertility diagnosis, about the years of feeling like a broken appliance that couldn't perform its basic function. "Not yet. They tell me I'll find someone new," I said carefully. "That I'm still young. That everything happens for a reason." "Do you believe that?" Thomas asked, his young voice cutting straight to the heart of things. "That everything happens for a reason?" I looked down at Anna sleeping in my arms, her small face peaceful for the first time all night. I looked at Thomas, who'd appointed himself protector of his family at age 6. I looked at Jack, who was trying so hard to be everything for his children while drowning in his own grief. "I'm starting to," I said softly. Jack studied me with an intensity that made my skin warm. "You're good with them. They don't usually warm up to strangers like this." "They're not strangers," I said, surprising myself with the certainty in my voice. "Not anymore." Something passed between us in that moment, not romance, not yet, but recognition. The kind of understanding that only comes from shared brokenness. We were both trying to rebuild ourselves from the ruins of different kinds of loss. "Rose," Jack said quietly, would you mind if we stayed in touch?" I mean, if you're comfortable with it. The kids, they seem lighter around you. Happier. I haven't seen them like this since. Since before, I finished. Yeah. Since before. Anna stirred in my arms and looked up at me with sleepy eyes. Miss Rose, will you come have pancakes with us tomorrow? I can show you how Mommy taught me to make the butterfly wings. My throat closed up. I'd love that, sweetheart. And you could meet our goldfish. Thomas added excitedly. His name is Captain Bubbles, and he does tricks. For the first time in months, I felt myself smile, really smile, not the polite, empty expression I'd been wearing like a mask. I can't wait. As they gathered their things to leave, Jack lingered at my door. Rose, I need you to know. I'm not looking for someone to replace Sarah. I don't think that's possible. But if you're willing to be in our lives, even just as a friend, I think it would mean everything to the kids. And to me, his eyes said what his mouth couldn't. After they left, I sat in my quiet apartment surrounded by the lingering warmth of their presence. Anna's cup sat on my counter. Thomas had left a small toy car on my coffee table. The space felt different now, not empty, but full of possibility. For the first time since Cal destroyed my world, I felt something other than shame and grief filling the hollow places in my chest. I felt needed. Not for what I could produce or provide, but for who I was. Rose. Just Rose. The woman who made hot chocolate and told bedtime stories and saw broken children as precious rather than burdensome. But as I drifted off to sleep that night, I had no idea that everything I thought I knew about my own brokenness was a lie. And that the man who'd built that lie was about to come crashing back into my life with a desperation that would threaten everything good I was building. The real test was coming. And I wasn't ready for it. 3 weeks later, I was elbow deep in finger paint and chaos, and I'd never felt more alive. Miss Rose, look. Anna held up a picture that was more purple blob than butterfly, but her face glowed with such pride that my chest ached with unexpected joy. It's you and me and Thomas and Daddy having a picnic. And Captain Bubbles is there too, Thomas added seriously, pointing to what looked like a orange circle with fins. He's eating fish crackers. I was sitting cross-legged on Jack's living room floor, paint smeared across my cheek, wearing one of his old flannel shirts over my dress because Anna had insisted I needed art clothes like Daddy. The afternoon sun streamed through windows that actually sparkled now. I'd spent last Saturday helping Jack tackle the overwhelming pile of laundry and dishes that had been drowning him. It's perfect, I said, and meant it. We should put it on the refrigerator. Next to Mommy's picture, Anna said matter-of-factly. So she can see our new family. The words hit me like a physical blow. New family. Is that what this was becoming? Jack appeared in the doorway, sleeves rolled up, hair mussed from the garden where he'd been attempting to resurrect Sarah's flower beds. When he saw me covered in paint and surrounded by his giggling children, something shifted in his expression. Something that made my pulse quicken in ways I wasn't ready to examine. How did I get so lucky, he murmured, but I wasn't sure if he was talking to me or to himself. Daddy, we made Miss Rose part of our picture family. Anna announced. Is that okay? Jack's eyes met mine over the children's heads, and the intensity there made my breath catch. Yeah, sweetheart. I think that's more than okay. The past 3 weeks had become a rhythm I hadn't expected. I'd started coming over after my morning shifts, helping with school pickup, staying for dinner. Thomas had stopped standing guard by the windows. Anna had started sleeping through the night. Jack had started smiling, really smiling, and when he looked at me, I felt like I was coming alive after years of just surviving. But it was more than that. Being with them felt like fitting into a space I didn't know existed. When Anna had nightmares about monsters, she called for me. When Thomas struggled with homework, he waited for me to come help. When Jack felt overwhelmed by single parenthood, he'd text me, and somehow just my presence made everything manageable again. Miss Rose, Thomas said suddenly, why don't you have any kids? The paintbrush slipped from my fingers, splattering purple across the newspaper we'd spread on the floor. The question I'd been dreading, asked with the innocent directness that only children possessed. Jack's face went pale. Thomas, that's not. It's okay, I said quickly, though my heart was hammering. That's a good question, buddy. How could I explain to a 6-year-old about infertility? About feeling broken? About a husband who threw you away because your body couldn't do the one thing it was supposedly designed for? Sometimes, I said carefully, life doesn't go the way we plan. Some people can't have babies, even when they really, really want them. Anna looked up from her painting, her small face serious. Like how some mommies die even when their kids really, really need them? Yeah, I whispered. Like that. Thomas considered this with the gravity of someone much older. But you take care of us. So you're kind of like a mommy anyway. My eyes filled so fast I had to turn away. Jack was there instantly, his hand warm on my shoulder, steadying me when I felt like I might fall apart. "Hey," he said softly, so only I could hear. "You okay?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. His thumb brushed across my cheek, wiping away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen, and suddenly the air between us changed. Charged. Dangerous. "Rose," he said, my name barely a whisper. "Daddy, are you going to kiss Miss Rose?" Anna asked with the blunt curiosity of a child who'd caught two adults in a moment. Jack jerked his hand back like I'd burned him, his face flushing red. "Anna, that's not. Mommy used to say that when grown-ups look at each other like that, it means they have special feelings," Thomas observed. "Do you have special feelings for Miss Rose, Daddy?" The silence stretched between us, loaded with everything we hadn't said. Everything we were both afraid to acknowledge. Because this wasn't just about us anymore. There were two grieving children watching our every move, needing stability, needing security. One wrong step could shatter the fragile peace we'd built. "I think," Jack said slowly, "that Miss Rose is very special to all of us." It wasn't a declaration of love, but it was enough to make my heart race. Enough to make me realize that somewhere between late-night conversations on his porch and bedtime stories and shared looks over the twins' heads, I'd started falling for this broken, beautiful man and his children. "Miss Rose," Anna said, suddenly serious, "will you come to our school play next week? I'm playing a butterfly, and Thomas is a tree, and all the other kids' mommies will be there, and we don't have a mommy but we have you, Anne." "Anna," Jack said gently. "You can't just assume Miss Rose wants to." "I'd love to come," I said quickly, my heart breaking and healing simultaneously. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Anna launched herself into my arms, covering my clean shirt with paint-covered hands, and I didn't care. I held her tight, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo and children's innocence, feeling more like myself than I had in years. That evening, after the kids were in bed, Jack and I sat on his back porch drinking wine and watching the stars emerge. The silence between us was comfortable now, but charged with possibility. "Rose," he said finally, "I need to tell you something." My stomach dropped. Here it comes, I thought. The part where he tells me this has all been too much, too fast. That he's not ready. That his children need stability, not some broken woman who can't even have kids of her own. "I haven't felt this way since Sarah died," he said quietly. "Hell, I didn't think I could feel this way again. You've brought something back to life in me, in all of us, that I thought was gone forever." I stared at him, hardly daring to breathe. "But I'm terrified," he continued. "Terrified of moving too fast. Of confusing the kids. Of ruining what we have by wanting more. Most of all, I'm terrified of losing you." "Why would you lose me?" I whispered. "Because I come with complications. 2 traumatized kids. A dead wife whose memory I'll always carry. Financial stress. Emotional baggage that could fill a warehouse." He turned to face me fully. "And you deserve better than all of that." I reached for his hand, lacing our fingers together. "Jack, those aren't complications. That's your life. Your beautiful, messy, real life. And I want to be part of it. Even though you'd be signing up for instant motherhood? No dating phase, no time to ease into anything? Anna and Thomas, they come first. They always will." "I wouldn't want it any other way," I said, and realized I meant it completely. He studied my face in the moonlight, searching for doubt, for hesitation. "What about kids of your own? I know that's something most women want, and I can't." "Jack," I said softly, "I can't have children." The words hung between us, heavy with years of shame and grief. I waited for his face to change, for the polite withdrawal I'd learned to expect when men found out about my broken body. Instead, he squeezed my hand tighter. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "That must have been devastating." It was. It ended my marriage. Destroyed my sense of self-worth. Made me feel like I was failing at the most basic function of being a woman. "Your ex-husband was an idiot," Jack said fiercely. "You're not broken, Rose. You're perfect exactly as you are." I felt tears threatening again. "Jack. No, listen to me. I watch you with Anna and Thomas. I see the way you love them, the way they bloom under your attention. Biology doesn't make someone a mother. Love does. Choice does. Showing up does. And you've been more of a mother to my children in 3 weeks than some women are in a lifetime." Something inside me cracked open, not breaking, but opening. Like a flower that had been closed for years finally finding sunshine. "I think I'm falling in love with you," I whispered. "I think I fell 3 weeks ago," he whispered back. "The night you found my children in the storm and brought them home safe." He leaned closer, his hand cupping my cheek, and I could feel his breath against my lips when his phone rang. We froze, the moment suspended between what was and what could be. The phone kept ringing. He started. "Yeah," I breathed. He answered without looking away from me. "Hello?" I watched his face change. The tenderness drained away, replaced by confusion, then shock, then something that looked like fear. "What do you mean, the test results were wrong?" he said slowly. My blood turned to ice water. "Test results? Dr. Martinez, I need you to explain this clearly. Are you telling me that Rose Carson was never infertile?" The world stopped spinning. Jack's eyes found mine across the porch, wide with disbelief. "Are you certain? Because that diagnosis destroyed her marriage. Destroyed her life." I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't process what I was hearing. "No, this is Jack Blaine. How is this possible?" He hung up and stared at me in the sudden silence. "Rose," he said slowly, "that was Dr. Martinez from the fertility clinic downtown. There's been a mix-up with some old files, and they've been calling patients to correct errors in their records." I felt like I was drowning. "Jack, what are you saying? They have you listed as infertile in their system, but when they cross-referenced with the lab that actually processed your tests..." He paused, his face pale in the moonlight. "Rose, you were never infertile. The test results that destroyed your marriage? They weren't yours." The porch seemed to tilt beneath me. 8 years of marriage. Years of shame, of failed treatments, of feeling broken and worthless. Years of Cal's family calling me defective. Years of believing I was fundamentally flawed as a woman. All based on someone else's test results. "That's impossible," I whispered. Cal showed me the paperwork. The doctor explained. And then, like a lightning bolt of clarity, I remembered Cal insisting on handling all the medical appointments alone after that first consultation. Cal bringing home the results and explaining them to me. Cal being the only one to speak with the doctors about next steps. Cal, who'd been so eager to blame me for our childless marriage. Cal, who'd thrown me away the moment he had medical backing for what he'd always suspected was my fault. My phone buzzed with a text message. With shaking hands, I looked down. "Cal, we need to talk. Tonight. I have something to tell you that changes everything." The man who destroyed my life was finally ready to tell me the truth. And I wasn't sure I was strong enough to hear it. I stared at Cal's text message until the words blurred together, my entire body trembling with a rage so pure it felt like fire in my veins. "Rose." Jack's voice seemed to come from underwater. "Talk to me. What's going through your head?" I looked up at him, this gentle man who'd just watched my world implode in real time, and felt something volcanic building in my chest. 8 years, Jack. 8 years I believed I was broken. 8 years I apologized for failing him. 8 years his mother called me defective, and I took it because I thought she was right. "Rose." He knew. The words came out strangled. He had to know. You don't just accidentally get someone else's test results. You don't just happen to never let your wife speak to the doctors directly. He knew, and he let me believe I was the problem. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Cal. "Cal, Rose, please. I know you're angry, but there are things you don't understand. Meet me at Murphy's Corner. 1 hour. I can explain everything." Jack read over my shoulder, his jaw clenching. "You're not going." "The hell I'm not." I stood so abruptly the porch chair scraped against the deck. "I need answers, Jack. I need to hear him say it." "Then I'm coming with you." "No." I turned to face him, and the protective fury in his dark eyes almost undid me. "This is my fight. My past. You and the kids don't need to be dragged into this mess. We're already in it," he said quietly. "The moment you became part of our family, your battles became our battles." Family. There was that word again, the one that made my chest tight with impossible hope. "Jack, if I go down this road with Cal, if I confront what he did to me, it's going to get ugly. Really ugly. Are you sure you want your children exposed to that kind of toxicity?" He stood and moved closer, close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. "Anna and Thomas have already survived losing their mother. They're stronger than you think. And they need to see that the people they love don't just disappear when things get difficult. The people they love. Not just me loving them, but them loving me back. What if this changes everything?" I whispered. "What if finding out the truth about my marriage makes me, I don't know, different? Angrier? What if I can't be the person you need me to be?" Jack cupped my face in his hands, his thumbs brushing across my cheekbones. "Rose, anger isn't something to be ashamed of. Sometimes anger is exactly what we need to finally fight for ourselves." Before I could respond, the back door slid open and Anna appeared in her pajamas, rubbing sleepy eyes. "Miss Rose? Why are you crying? Did someone hurt your feelings?" I quickly wiped my cheeks, not realizing tears had started falling. "I'm okay, sweetheart. Just some grown-up stuff to figure out." Anna patted over and wrapped her small arms around my waist. "When I'm sad, Daddy makes me hot chocolate and tells me everything will be better in the morning." "Want me to make you hot chocolate?" My heart cracked open. This 6-year-old child, who'd lost her mother and lived through her own trauma, was trying to comfort me. That's the sweetest offer I've ever gotten, Anna. I'll help, Thomas said, appearing behind his sister with the serious expression he wore when he thought someone needed protecting. We make really good hot chocolate. Daddy taught us. Jack's eyes met mine over the children's heads. See? His expression said. Family takes care of family. 20 minutes later, I found myself back at Jack's kitchen table, wrapped in one of his sweaters, holding a mug of the world's most lumpy hot chocolate while Anna and Thomas sat on either side of me like tiny bodyguards. Miss Rose, Thomas said carefully, is the person who hurt your feelings the same person who used to be married to you? I nearly choked on my hot chocolate. These children saw everything, understood more than adults gave them credit for. How did you? Daddy told us you used to be married to someone who wasn't very nice to you, Anna said matter-of-factly. Is he being not nice again? I looked to Jack for help, but he just nodded encouragingly. These kids had lived through loss and trauma. They could handle truth, delivered gently. Yes, I said slowly. He hurt my feelings very badly a long time ago, and now I found out that some of the mean things he said weren't true. That's called lying, Thomas said with the moral clarity of childhood. Lying is wrong. Mommy always said lying hurts people's hearts. Sometimes, Anna added thoughtfully, when people lie to us, it means they're scared or sad inside. But that doesn't make it okay. Out of the mouths of babes. These children understood more about healthy relationships at 6 years old than I had at 32. What are you going to do? Thomas asked. I'm going to go talk to him. To tell him that lying hurt my heart, and to make sure he knows it wasn't okay. Anna nodded solemnly. And then you'll come back? The question hung in the air, loaded with the fear of abandonment that both children carried. They'd learned too young that people they loved could disappear without warning. Yes, I said firmly. I'll always come back to you. Always. Promise? Thomas asked. I promise. Anna climbed into my lap, her small arms wrapping around my neck. Miss Rose, you're braver than you think. Mommy used to say that sometimes we have to be scared and brave at the same time. I held her tight, breathing in her familiar scent of strawberry shampoo and innocence, feeling my resolve solidify into something unbreakable. An hour later, Jack walked me to my car, his hand warm and steady in mine. I meant what I said earlier, he said quietly. About falling for you 3 weeks ago. Whatever Cal has to say tonight, whatever truth comes out, it doesn't change how I feel. What if it changes how I feel about myself? Then I'll remind you every day who you really are until you believe it again. He pulled me closer, his forehead resting against mine. You're the woman who found 2 scared children in a storm and brought them home. You're the woman who puts butterfly band-aids on scraped knees and knows exactly how to make Anna stop crying. You're the woman who made Thomas laugh for the first time in months. You're the woman who brought light back into our lives when we thought we'd lost it forever. Jack. You're not broken, Rose. You never were. And whatever he did to make you think you were, I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving him wrong. He kissed me then, soft and sure and full of promise, and I felt something settle into place in my chest. This was what love was supposed to feel like. Not desperate and performing and conditional, but steady and choosing and real. When we broke apart, I was crying again, but these tears felt different. Cleaner. Go get your answers, he whispered against my forehead. We'll be here when you get back. The drive to Murphy's Corner took 12 minutes, but it felt like traveling back through 8 years of my life. Every mile brought back memories I'd tried to bury, Cal's disappointment when my period came month after month. His family's increasing hostility. The gradual erosion of my self-worth until I believed their narrative that I was fundamentally flawed. I pulled into the parking lot and saw Cal's familiar silver sedan, and my hands started shaking again. Through the diner window, I could see him sitting in a booth, looking older and more haggard than I remembered. His shoulders were slumped, his hair thinning, his face drawn with what looked like stress or guilt or both. Good, I thought savagely. He should look miserable. But as I sat in my car, staring at the man who'd destroyed my sense of self, I realized something had changed. The Rose who'd left this parking lot 8 months ago would have been terrified of this confrontation. She would have been prepared to apologize for existing, to take responsibility for his pain. But I wasn't that Rose anymore. I was the Rose who made hot chocolate for scared children. The Rose who Jack looked at like she hung the moon. The Rose who Anna and Thomas called when they had nightmares. I was the Rose who'd been loved properly, and that changed everything. I got out of the car and walked toward the diner, my spine straight, my steps sure. It was time for Cal to face what he'd done. And more importantly, it was time for me to stop being ashamed of what had been done to me. The truth was waiting inside, and for the first time in 8 years, I wasn't afraid of it. I was ready to fight for it. Cal looked up when I walked into the diner, and I saw something I'd never seen in his face before: fear. Pure, naked fear. Rose. He stood awkwardly, nearly knocking over his coffee cup. You came. I wasn't sure you would. Talk, I said, sliding into the booth across from him without preamble. You said you had something to tell me that changes everything. So talk. He looked terrible. His always perfect hair was disheveled, his clothes wrinkled like he'd slept in them, and there were dark circles under his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. 8 months ago, I would have felt sorry for him. 8 months ago, I would have asked what was wrong, offered comfort. Not anymore. Rose, God, where do I even start? He ran his hands through his hair, a nervous gesture I remembered from our worst fights. I know you got a call from Dr. Martinez. About the test results. So you know that I was never infertile. My voice came out deadly calm. You know that 8 years of our marriage was built on a lie. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, he said quickly. I never meant for it to go on so long. I thought we'd figure it out, find another way, but then years passed and it became this thing between us, and I didn't know how to tell you without. Without what, Cal? Without admitting that you let me believe I was broken? That you let your mother call me defective while you sat there and said nothing? His face crumpled. I was scared, okay? I was scared and stupid and I thought if you knew the truth, you'd leave me. The admission hung between us, and I felt something cold settle in my chest. What truth, Cal? Because I'm pretty sure I haven't heard it yet. He looked around the diner nervously, as if checking for witnesses. The infertility, it wasn't you. It was never you. I know that now. No, Rose, you don't understand. It wasn't just that the tests were mixed up. They weren't mixed up at all. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. The tests were right. But they were my tests. I'm the one who's infertile. I've been infertile since I was a teenager. Childhood cancer, chemotherapy treatments, the doctors told my parents when I was 16 that I'd never father children naturally. The words hit me like a physical blow. You've known since you were 16? Yes. And you married me anyway? Let me think it was my fault for 8 years? Put me through procedure after procedure, hormone treatments that made me sick, let me apologize to your family for being defective? I thought we could make it work. I thought maybe we'd adopt, or use donor sperm, or... I don't know, I thought we'd figure something out. But instead, you let me believe I was the problem. Because I couldn't face being the problem. The words exploded out of him, loud enough to make other patrons turn and stare. He lowered his voice again, but the desperation remained. Do you have any idea what it's like to grow up knowing you can't give your wife children? To know you're not a real man? So you made me feel like I wasn't a real woman instead. The accusation hung between us, stark and undeniable. Cal's face went white. Rose, please, you have to understand. No, Cal. You understand. You stole 8 years of my life. You stole my 30s, my prime childbearing years, making me believe my body was broken. You let me endure your mother's cruelty, your family's pity, years of feeling worthless and defective, all to protect your ego. I tried to tell you so many times, he said weakly. But every time I started to, I'd see how much you blamed yourself, and I thought maybe it was easier for both of us if you just let me carry the shame that belonged to you. He couldn't meet my eyes. Yes. The confession sat between us like a bomb that had finally detonated, leaving devastation in its wake. 8 years of marriage. 8 years of self-doubt. 8 years of believing I was fundamentally flawed as a woman. All because Cal was too much of a coward to admit his own limitations. There's more, he said quietly. I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. More? What else could there possibly be, Cal? I've been seeing someone. Since about 6 months after our divorce. Good for you. I hope she knows what she's getting into. Rose, she's pregnant. The world stopped spinning. What did you say? She's pregnant. 7 months. I stared at him across the table, my brain trying to process what he was telling me. But you're infertile. You just said? IVF. We did IVF. It took 3 tries, but it worked. His voice was barely audible. We're having a son. The betrayal was so complete, so devastating, that for a moment I couldn't breathe. While I was living in a studio apartment, working double shifts, drowning in shame and grief over my supposedly broken body, Cal was playing happy family with someone else. Using the same medical technology he'd never suggested when we were married. Creating the child he'd convinced me we could never have because I was defective. You could have had children all along, I whispered. With me. We could have done IVF. We could have tried donor sperm. We could have had the family I dreamed of for 8 years. Rose. But instead, you threw me away. You threw me away because it was easier than admitting you were the one with the problem. I was scared. You were selfish. The words came out louder than I intended, but I didn't care. You were selfish and cowardly and cruel, and you destroyed my life to protect your precious ego. I know, he said, tears streaming down his face. I know, and I'm sorry. God, Rose, I'm so sorry. I've been living with this guilt for months, watching you struggle, knowing it was my fault, and I couldn't figure out how to make it right. You want to make it right? I stood up from the booth, my entire body shaking with rage. You can't make this right, Cal. You can't give me back 8 years of my life. You can't take away the shame you let me carry. You can't undo the damage you did to my sense of self-worth. Please, Rose, just listen. No, you listen. I'm done listening to you. I'm done caring about your feelings. I'm done making excuses for your cowardice. I leaned down, my voice dropping to a whisper that carried more venom than any scream. I hope that baby you're having grows up to be everything you pretend to be. I hope he's honest and brave and treats people with basic human decency. Because if he turns out like you, that poor child doesn't stand a chance. Cal's face crumpled completely. Rose, please. I love you. I never stopped loving you. Lisa, she's nothing like you. She doesn't understand me the way you do. Come back to me. We can try IVF now. We can have the family we always wanted. The audacity of it stole my breath. After everything he'd just confessed, after admitting to years of deliberate deception and cruelty, he wanted me back. You think I'd come back to you? I laughed, and the sound was sharp enough to cut glass. You think after everything you've done, after the lies and the betrayal and the emotional abuse, I'd just, what? Pretend it never happened? We could start over. Fresh start. I've learned from my mistakes. Your mistakes. I stepped closer to his booth, and he actually flinched. Cal, what you did to me wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Every day for 8 years, you chose to let me believe I was broken. Every time your mother called me defective, you chose to stay silent. Every time I cried about being unable to give you children, you chose to let me blame myself. Rose. And now that your new woman is pregnant with your child, the child you always told me we couldn't have because of my body, now you want to crawl back? Because what? She left you. Because reality set in? Because having an actual baby is harder than playing house. His silence told me everything I needed to know. She didn't leave me, he said finally. I left her. When I found out about the test results mix-up, when I realized what I'd done to you, I couldn't stay with her knowing I'd built our relationship on the ruins of yours. How noble of you. I love you, Rose. I've always loved you. Everything I did because I was terrified of losing you. So instead, you made sure I'd lose myself. I turned to leave, but his voice stopped me. There's someone else, isn't there? That's why you won't even consider. I turned back to face him, and for the first time since walking into the diner, I smiled. Yes, Cal. There is someone else. Someone who thinks I'm perfect exactly as I am. Someone whose children call me family. Someone who would never, ever make me feel broken or defective or less than whole. Children. His face went pale. You found someone with kids? I found someone with everything you pretended we could never have. A real family. Built on truth and love and respect. Rose, you can't trust that. You don't know anything about being a mother. I know more about being a mother than you'll ever know about being a father, I said, and the certainty in my voice surprised even me. Because being a parent isn't about biology, Cal. It's about showing up. It's about putting someone else's needs before your own. It's about telling the truth even when it's hard. I headed for the door, but stopped when I reached it. Oh, and Cal? When your son is old enough to ask questions about integrity and honesty and how to treat the people you're supposed to love, I hope you figure out better answers than the ones you gave me. I walked out of Murphy's Corner with my head high and my heart racing, leaving 8 years of shame and self-doubt sitting in that booth with the man who'd created them. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A text from Jack. Jack, the kids made you a welcome home banner. Anna insisted on extra glitter. How did it go? I stared at the message, at this evidence of a family waiting for me, choosing me, wanting me home, and felt something fundamental shift inside my chest. For the first time in 8 years, I knew exactly who I was. I was Rose. Just Rose. And I was enough. I was more than enough. I was loved. I was still glowing with righteous victory when I pulled into Jack's driveway 20 minutes later. The porch light was on, and through the living room window, I could see colorful construction paper taped to the walls. Anna's welcome home banner, complete with enough glitter to blind a small aircraft. My family was waiting for me. The thought stopped me cold as I sat in my car, engine still running. My family. When had I started thinking of them that way? When had Jack's small brick house started feeling more like home than the apartment I'd been paying rent on for 8 months? I was still sitting there, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what had shifted inside me tonight, when my phone rang. Jack's name flashed on the screen, and I smiled as I answered. Hey, I'm actually in your driveway. I was just. Rose. His voice was wrong. Tight with tension, maybe even fear. Where are you exactly? Your driveway. Why? What's wrong? Thank God. Listen to me carefully. Do not come to the door. Do not get out of your car. Drive to the gas station on Maple Street and wait for me there. My blood turned to ice water. Jack, what's happening? Your ex-husband showed up here about 10 minutes after you left. He's been pounding on my door, demanding to see you, saying he knows you're here. The kids are terrified, Rose. Anna's having a full panic attack, and Thomas won't stop asking if the angry man is going to hurt you. The victory I'd felt from confronting Cal evaporated instantly, replaced by a sick dread that made my hands shake. Where is he now? Sitting in his car in front of my house. He hasn't left. He's just waiting. Like he knows you'll come back. Through Jack's living room window, I could see him pacing, his phone pressed to his ear, his free hand running through his hair in agitation. Even from a distance, I could see the tension in his shoulders. Jack, I'm so sorry. I never thought he'd. Rose, this isn't your fault. But I need you to understand something. His voice dropped lower, became deadly serious. I called the police 20 minutes ago. They said until he actually threatens someone or tries to break in, there's nothing they can do. He's legally allowed to sit on a public street. What about the kids? Anna threw up twice. She keeps asking if you're coming back, if the scary man is going to take you away like cancer took her mommy. Thomas is sitting by the front door with a baseball bat, saying he's going to protect us. My heart shattered. These babies, who'd already lost so much, were now being traumatized because of my past. Because of Cal's selfish desperation. I'll call him, I said quickly. I'll tell him to leave you alone, that this has nothing to do with. Rose, no. Don't call him. Don't engage with him at all. But the kids. The kids need to see that when someone behaves this way, we don't reward it with attention. They need to know that love doesn't look like this. I understood what he was saying, but the image of Anna throwing up from fear and Thomas guarding the door with a baseball bat was killing me. Jack, maybe I should just talk to him. Get him to leave. I can handle. No. The sharpness in his voice surprised me. Rose, listen to me. I've seen this before. After Sarah died, her ex-boyfriend from college showed up and started pulling similar stunts. Obsessive behavior escalates when it gets attention, even negative attention. Sarah had an ex who? It's a long story. But the point is, I know how this goes. First it's showing up unannounced. Then it's following you places. Then it's making threats. This isn't going to get better by giving him what he wants. My phone buzzed with a text. Cal, I know you're here. I saw your car. We need to finish our conversation. Then another. Cal, I'm not leaving until you talk to me. I'll wait all night if I have to. And another. Cal, I know all about your new boyfriend. Single father, 2 kids, wife died of cancer. Think he's going to want damaged goods when he really gets to know you? I read the messages out loud to Jack, and the silence that followed was deafening. He's been watching me, I whispered. Jack, he's been following me, learning about you and the kids. This isn't just tonight. He's been planning this. Rose, where are you now? Are you still in the driveway? I looked around, suddenly feeling exposed and vulnerable. Yes, but I'm going to leave. I'll go to the gas station like you said. Good. But Rose? He paused, and I could hear voices in the background, Anna crying, Thomas's higher-pitched voice saying something about calling the police. We need to talk about what this means. What do you mean? I mean that bringing you into our lives might have brought danger into our lives. Anna and Thomas, they've been through enough trauma. They don't need to be afraid in their own home because of. He didn't finish the sentence, but I heard the words he didn't say. Because of you. Because of your baggage. Because of the toxic man you brought into our orbit. Jack, are you sane? I'm saying I need to think about what's best for my children. And right now, having a man stalking the woman they've gotten attached to, showing up at our house, traumatizing them. I don't know if that's something we can handle. The words hit me like physical blows. After everything we'd shared tonight, after the promises and the declarations of love, Jack was pulling away because my past was threatening his children's safety. And the worst part was, he was right. You want me to stay away, I said, my voice coming out flat and dead. I want you to be safe. I want my kids to be safe. I want to figure out how to make this work without putting anyone at risk. That's not the same thing. Rose. No, I get it. I understand completely. My voice was surprisingly steady considering my world was crumbling. You have to protect Anna and Thomas. That's your job. I would never ask you to put them in danger for me. This doesn't change how I feel about you. It doesn't matter how you feel about me, Jack. It matters what you're willing to risk for me. And you're not willing to risk your children's safety. Which is exactly what a good father should do. Rose, please don't. I need to go. Tell Anna and Thomas that I love them. Tell them this isn't their fault, and it's not goodbye forever. Just, tell them I need to fix some grown-up problems before I can come back. Rose. I hung up and immediately turned off my phone. I couldn't bear to hear Jack try to explain why loving me wasn't worth the complication I brought to his life. Because he was right. He was absolutely right. I put my car in reverse and backed out of the driveway, my eyes blurring with tears I refused to let fall. As I drove past Cal's silver sedan, I could see him watching me through his windshield, and I realized with crystal clarity what he'd done. This wasn't just about winning me back. This was about destroying any chance I had at happiness if I wouldn't come back to him. He deliberately escalated the situation, deliberately targeted Jack's house when children were present, deliberately created chaos and fear because if he couldn't have me, he'd make sure no one could. I drove aimlessly through the dark streets, my phone buzzing incessantly with calls and texts I refused to acknowledge. The righteous victory from confronting Cal felt like a lifetime ago. The moment of clarity about who I was and what I deserved had been shattered by the reality of what loving me cost other people. Jack was right to choose his children over me. Anna and Thomas had already lost their mother. They didn't need to lose their sense of safety because their father fell in love with a woman whose ex-husband was unstable and vindictive. But understanding Jack's choice didn't make it hurt less. For 3 weeks, I'd allowed myself to believe that I could have this. A family. Children who needed me. A man who saw me as perfect exactly as I was. A home that felt like belonging instead of endurance. I'd allowed myself to believe that my story could have a happy ending. But some people don't get happy endings. Some people get to be the catalyst for other people's happiness, but never get to keep it for themselves. I pulled into the parking lot of a 24-hour laundromat and finally looked at my phone. 17 missed calls from Jack. 23 text messages. The most recent one, sent just minutes ago, made my heart stop. Jack, Rose, Cal just drove away. The kids are asking for you. Please come back. We can figure this out together. But it was too late. I'd already started building the walls back up, already started protecting myself from the inevitable disappointment of being too much trouble, too much baggage, too much risk. I'd spent 8 years believing I wasn't enough. Now I had to face the possibility that I was too much. Either way, I was alone again. And this time, it felt like it might be permanent. I was sitting in my car outside the laundromat, staring at Jack's text messages and trying to convince myself that staying away was the noble thing to do, when a tap on my passenger window made me jump. Anna's small face was pressed against the glass, her breath fogging the window as she mouthed, "Miss Rose." Thomas stood behind her, holding what looked like a hastily packed overnight bag, while Jack hovered protectively behind both children. My heart stopped. "What are you doing here?" I asked through the glass. Anna pointed to the door handle with the imperious gesture of a 6-year-old who expected immediate compliance. With shaking hands, I unlocked the car. "We found you," Anna announced, climbing into the passenger seat without invitation while Thomas settled in the back. "Daddy said you were probably at the sad place, and then we drove around until we saw your car." "The sad place?" I looked at Jack, who was standing beside my open door looking haggard and determined. "The place people go when they think they have to be alone with their problems," he said quietly. "I should know. I lived there for 2 years after Sarah died." "Jack, you shouldn't have brought the kids out. If Cal comes back?" "He won't come back tonight," Thomas said matter-of-factly from the back seat. "Daddy called Uncle Mike, and Uncle Mike went to have a conversation with the scary man." I raised an eyebrow at Jack. "Uncle Mike?" "Sarah's brother. Marine, 6'4", protective streak a mile wide. He explained to Cal that showing up at someone's house and frightening children is a good way to find out what the inside of a jail cell looks like." "Miss Rose," Anna said, tugging on my sleeve, "why did you leave without saying goodbye?" The question hit me like a physical blow. "Oh, sweetheart, I didn't mean to. When Mommy left, she didn't say goodbye either," Anna continued, her voice small but steady. "But Daddy explained that sometimes people leave because they're scared, not because they don't love us anymore." I looked at Jack over Anna's head, seeing understanding in his dark eyes. "You told them?" "I told them that sometimes grown-ups make mistakes when they're trying to protect people they love," he said. "And that sometimes the biggest mistake is running away instead of fighting for what matters." "But I wasn't running away," I protested. "I was protecting you. Protecting them. Cal is dangerous and unpredictable, and you said yourself." "I said I was scared," Jack interrupted, moving closer to the car. "I said I needed to think about what was best for my kids. But you know what I figured out after you left?" "What?" That what's best for my kids is having you in their lives. Even if it's complicated. Even if it means we have to deal with your ex-husband's psychotic behavior. Even if it means installing security cameras and changing our phone numbers and whatever else we need to do. Jack. No, let me finish. For 3 weeks, I've watched Anna sleep through the night without nightmares. I've watched Thomas laugh and play instead of standing guard all the time. I've watched both of them bloom in ways they haven't since their mother died. And tonight, when you left, they didn't just lose you. They lost the part of themselves that had started healing. Anna nodded solemnly. We were getting better, Miss Rose. But then you left, and the sad came back. And it's not just the kids, Jack continued, his voice rough with emotion. Rose, I've been barely surviving for 2 years. Just going through the motions, keeping my head above water, counting down days instead of living them. But these past 3 weeks with you, I remembered what it feels like to look forward to something. To want more than just making it through another day. But what about tonight? What about Cal showing up and scaring the kids? What about the fact that we're stronger together than we are apart? Thomas piped up from the back seat. What about the fact that families stick together when scary things happen? I turned to stare at this wise 6-year-old. Thomas. Miss Rose, when Mommy was sick, lots of bad things happened. Doctors and hospitals and needles and watching her get smaller and sadder. But we didn't run away from each other. We stayed together because that's what families do. And you're our family now, Anna added simply. Even if the scary man comes back, we want to be scared together instead of apart. I felt tears starting to fall, but these weren't tears of despair. They were tears of recognition, of coming home, of being chosen by people who knew exactly what loving me would cost and decided I was worth it anyway. I'm bringing a lot of complications into your lives, I whispered. Good, Jack said firmly. I'm tired of simple. Simple was just existing. Complicated means living. But what if Cal escalates? What if he tries something worse? We made it exactly 3 blocks toward home before my phone started ringing. Cal's name flashed on the screen, and before I could even consider ignoring it, Anna grabbed my phone from the center console. I'll answer it, she announced with the fearless confidence of a 6-year-old who'd decided she'd had enough of adults behaving badly. Anna, no, Jack started, but she'd already swiped to answer. Hello, scary man, she said in her sweetest voice. This is Anna, and Miss Rose is driving right now, so she can't talk to you because that would be unsafe. I pulled over immediately, my heart hammering. Jack twisted around to look at Anna, his face a mixture of pride and panic. Anna, Cal's voice came through the speaker, confused and thrown off his script. Where's Rose? I need to talk to Rose. She's busy being part of our family, Anna said matter-of-factly. And Daddy says you're not allowed to bother families. Put Rose on the phone. Now. Anna's face scrunched up in disapproval. That's not how you ask for things. You're supposed to say please. And you're supposed to not be scary. Listen, kid. I'm not kid, Anna interrupted with impressive authority. I'm Anna Louise Blaine, and this is my family, and you're being mean to Miss Rose, which means you're being mean to all of us. Thomas leaned forward from the back seat. Yeah, and we don't like bullies. I could hear Cal's frustration building through the phone. Where are you? I'm coming to get Rose right now. No, you're not, said a new voice on the line, and my blood ran cold as I recognized it. Lisa. Cal's pregnant girlfriend. Lisa? Cal's voice in the background sounded panicked. What are you doing with my phone? Cal, hang up. Now. Lisa's voice was sharp with authority. Anna, sweetie, is there a grown-up there? I need to talk to someone. Jack gently took the phone from Anna. This is Jack Blaine. Hi Jack. I'm Lisa Monroe, and I'm very sorry that you and your children have been dragged into this mess. Is Rose there? Jack looked at me questioningly. I nodded and took the phone. Rose? Lisa's voice was tired but determined. I need you to know that I had no idea about any of it until tonight. Lisa, what's going on? Cal came home 3 hours ago ranting about you, about some test results, about how he needed to fix things and get you back. He was completely unhinged, talking about how you belonged to him, how no one else could understand you like he did. In the background, I could hear Cal shouting. Lisa, give me my phone. This doesn't concern you. Like hell it doesn't concern me, Lisa snapped, clearly not talking to me anymore. Rose, when he started talking about the infertility diagnosis, I got suspicious. So I called his doctor. Dr. Rodriguez has been Cal's urologist since college. Did you know Cal has been on fertility medications for the past 2 years? My blood turned to ice. What? He's been taking Clomid and doing testosterone therapy, trying to improve his sperm count. Dr. Rodriguez was very clear that Cal's infertility is severe but not absolute. With medical intervention, pregnancy is possible but difficult. I don't understand. Rose, he's been fertile enough to father children for years. Maybe not easily, but definitely possible. The doctor said they discussed IVF options multiple times during your marriage, but Cal always refused to pursue treatment. The world tilted on its axis. He refused treatment? Dr. Rodriguez has detailed notes. Cal told him he didn't want to deal with the emotional stress of fertility treatments, that it was easier to let everyone believe you were the problem. Through the phone, I could hear something that sounded like breaking glass, then Cal's voice, closer now, desperate and angry. Lisa, you don't understand. Rose and I, we have history. We belong together. This is just a misunderstanding. Cal, the only misunderstanding here is me thinking you were a decent person. Lisa's voice came back, strong and clear. Rose, I want you to know that I'm leaving him. Tonight. I'm filing a police report about his harassment of you and your family, and I'm documenting everything for my lawyer. Lisa, you can't, Cal's voice in the background. Watch me. Rose, I'm 7 months pregnant with this man's child, and I just found out that he spent 8 years psychologically abusing his wife rather than take responsibility for his own medical issues. What do you think that says about his character as a potential father? Anna tugged on my sleeve. Miss Rose, is the lady okay? She sounds sad. I realized Anna and Thomas had been listening to this entire conversation, absorbing every word. These children, who'd already learned too much about loss and betrayal, were witnessing the unraveling of Cal's lies in real time. Lisa, I said softly, are you safe? Do you need help? I'm safe. My brother is here, and we're packing my things. But Rose, I need you to understand something. What Cal did to you, it wasn't just cruel. It was calculated. He chose to destroy your self-worth rather than face his own limitations. That's not love. That's not even human decency. Rose. Cal's voice suddenly came through clearly as he apparently grabbed the phone back. Don't listen to her. She doesn't know what she's talking about. We can work this out. We can be together, have kids of our own. Cal, I said, my voice steady and strong in a way that surprised me, stop talking. Rose, please. No. I said stop talking. Lisa, are you still there? I'm here, came Lisa's voice, apparently on speaker now. Good. Because I want you both to hear this. I looked around at Jack and Anna and Thomas, drawing strength from their presence. Cal, what you did to me was unforgivable. You stole 8 years of my life. You convinced me I was broken when you were the one who was too cowardly to face reality. You made me believe I was worthless when you were the one who was morally bankrupt. Rose. I'm not finished. You want to know the difference between you and Jack? Jack faced his wife's death with grace and honesty. He grieved openly. He struggled openly. He never once tried to make his children believe they were the problem when his world fell apart. He never blamed them for things beyond their control. That's not the same thing. You're right. It's not the same thing. What Jack went through was infinitely harder, and he handled it with 100 times more integrity than you've ever shown. Anna squeezed my hand. Tell him about our family, she whispered. And Cal? I want you to know that I found my family. Real family. The kind of family that chooses each other every day. The kind that faces problems together instead of creating scapegoats. The kind that builds each other up instead of tearing each other down. Rose, you can't possibly think that playing house with some widower and his damaged kids is better than what we could have. Don't. Jack's voice cut through the phone like a blade. He'd grabbed it from my hand. Don't you dare talk about my children that way. Who is this? This isn't your conversation. This is Jack Blaine. The man who loves Rose exactly as she is. The man whose children call her family. The man who will spend the rest of his life proving to her that love doesn't require her to be anything other than herself. You don't know her like I do. You're right. I don't know the Rose you tried to create. The insecure, ashamed, broken Rose you spent 8 years constructing. I know the real Rose. The one who makes pancakes shaped like butterflies and tells bedtime stories and sees my children as precious gifts instead of burdens. The Rose who's brave enough to love again after what you did to her. Through the phone, we could hear Lisa's voice. Cal, stop. Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself. Lisa, don't do this. Think about the baby. I am thinking about the baby. I'm thinking about what kind of man I want raising my child. And after tonight, I know it's not you. There was a long pause, then Cal's voice came back, different now. Smaller. Defeated. Rose? Are you there? I'm here. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but I'm sorry. For all of it. For the lies, for the years I stole from you, for tonight. You deserve better than what I gave you. It was the first honest thing he'd said in 8 years. You're right, I said quietly. I do deserve better. And I found it. With him? With them? I looked at Jack, whose eyes were bright with unshed tears of pride and love. I looked at Anna, who was holding my hand like she'd never let go. I looked at Thomas, who was nodding solemnly like he understood exactly what this moment meant. Yes, I said. With them. With my family. Rose, Cal's voice was barely a whisper. I hope they make you happy. They already do. The line went quiet for a long moment, then Lisa's voice came back. Rose, this is Lisa. I wanted you to know that I'm documenting everything that happened tonight. If he bothers you again, you'll have legal recourse. Thank you, Lisa. And Lisa? You're going to be a wonderful mother. Your child is lucky to have someone who fights for what's right. Thank you. That means more than you know. After we hung up, we sat in the quiet car for several minutes. Then Anna spoke up. Miss Rose, is the scary man going away now? Yes, sweetheart. I think he is. Good, she said decisively. Because we have important family stuff to do. Like what? I asked, smiling despite everything. Like going home and having hot chocolate and reading stories and being happy together, Thomas said matter-of-factly. And like Daddy kissing you properly, Anna added with a 6-year-old's unerring ability to cut straight to the heart of things. He's been wanting to all night, but there kept being interruptions. Jack laughed, the sound warm and full of relief. Anna, that's very observant of you. Mommy always said love shouldn't have to wait for perfect timing, Anna said seriously. Jack looked at me across the car, his eyes full of promise and possibility. Smart woman, your mom. Yeah, Anna smiled. She was. And so is Miss Rose. So is Miss Rose, Jack agreed, reaching for my hand. Ready to go home, family? Ready, we all said together. And as we drove home through the quiet streets, I realized that sometimes the most beautiful endings aren't the ones you plan for. They're the ones you choose, moment by moment, heartbeat by heartbeat, with people brave enough to love you through the complications. We were going to be more than okay. We were going to be extraordinary. 6 months later, I was standing in the kitchen of our house, not Jack's house, not my apartment, but our house, watching Anna attempt to make butterfly pancakes while Thomas supervised with the serious expression of someone ensuring national security. Miss Rose, I mean Mama Rose, Anna corrected herself with a giggle, the wings are supposed to be the same size, right? Mama Rose. The name had evolved naturally over the months, starting as Miss Rose, then almost Mama Rose, and finally settling into the simple, perfect Mama Rose that made my heart skip every time I heard it. They're perfect, sweetheart, I said, kissing the top of her head. Butterfly wings in nature are never perfectly symmetrical either. That's what makes them special, Thomas added solemnly. He'd appointed himself the family philosopher, and his observations about life never failed to amaze me. Jack appeared in the kitchen doorway, hair still mussed from sleep, wearing the ridiculous, world's okayest dad t-shirt the kids had bought him for Father's Day. When his eyes found mine, that same warmth spread through my chest that I'd felt every morning for the past 6 months. Good morning, beautiful, he said, wrapping his arms around me from behind and pressing a kiss to my temple. Daddy, you're supposed to say good morning, beautiful family, Anna corrected with the authority of someone who'd taken charge of proper family protocols. Good morning, beautiful family, Jack amended, squeezing me tighter. Better, Anna declared, flipping a pancake with theatrical flair. As I stood there in our warm kitchen, surrounded by the gentle chaos of Saturday morning breakfast, I marveled at how completely my life had transformed. The woman who'd sat in a sterile doctor's office 8 years ago being told she was defective felt like a stranger now. The woman who'd hidden behind a dumpster in the rain, convinced she was too broken for happiness, was someone I barely recognized. Mama Rose, Thomas said thoughtfully, do you ever miss your old life? Before you found us? It was the kind of question only Thomas would ask, direct, profound, and completely without artifice. You know what I miss? I said, sitting down beside him. I miss thinking I knew what happiness looked like. Because what I thought was happiness was just settling. What we have now. This is what happiness actually feels like. What does it feel like? Anna asked, abandoning her pancakes to climb into my lap. It feels like Saturday morning pancakes. It feels like someone picking up your favorite coffee without being asked. It feels like bedtime stories and scraped knees and homework help and knowing that someone will always come looking for you if you get lost. It feels like home, Thomas said simply. Exactly like home. Jack sat down across from us, his eyes soft with the contentment that had replaced the hollow exhaustion I'd first seen in his face. Speaking of home, he said, I got a call yesterday from Mrs. Patterson next door. She wanted to know if we'd be interested in buying her house when she moves to Arizona. The house with the big backyard? Anna's eyes went wide. With the tire swing? The very one. She said she'd rather sell it to a family she knows will love it than put it on the market. I felt my heart skip. We'd been talking about needing more space, my apartment lease was up next month, and while we'd been living together unofficially for months, making it official felt like the natural next step. What do you think? Jack asked me. Ready to make this permanent? Legal? Official? Before I could answer, both kids started bouncing in their chairs. Yes, 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 Anna chanted. Then Mama Rose can have her own closet, and we can get a dog, Anne. And we can paint my room blue instead of yellow, Thomas added. Yellow was for when I was a baby. I looked around at these three people who'd taken my broken pieces and helped me build something beautiful. Who'd shown me that family wasn't about biology or perfection or meeting someone else's expectations. Family was about choice, and daily commitment, and loving people exactly as they were. I think, I said slowly, that sounds perfect. Jack's smile could have powered the entire neighborhood. In that case, he said, reaching into his pocket, I have something to ask you. My heart stopped as he pulled out a small velvet box. Jack, I whispered. Anna, Thomas, Jack said seriously, you both know how much I love Mama Rose, right? They nodded solemnly. And you both know that she's already part of our family in every way that matters? More nodding. Well, I want to ask her to marry us. All of us. To officially become a family forever and always. Is that okay with you? Yes. Anna practically shouted. Ask her, Daddy. Ask her now. Thomas was more reserved but equally enthusiastic. We already talked about it, and we think you should definitely marry Mama Rose because she makes the best grilled cheese sandwiches and she knows all the words to the songs on our favorite movies. Those are excellent reasons to get married, I said, laughing through sudden tears. Jack slid out of his chair and got down on one knee right there in our kitchen, surrounded by Saturday morning chaos and butterfly pancakes and pure, perfect love. Rose, he said, his voice steady and sure, you came into our lives during a storm, and you've been our sunshine ever since. You've healed parts of Anna and Thomas the First didn't think would ever heal. You've brought joy back to this house, laughter back to our days, hope back to our future. Daddy, tell her the part about loving her, Anna prompted. Jack laughed. I love you, Rose. I love your strength and your kindness and the way you see beauty in broken things. I love how you love my children like they were born from your own heart. I love that you choose us every single day. And we love you too, Thomas added helpfully. We love you too, Jack agreed. So, Rose Carson, will you marry us? Will you be our family forever? I looked down at this man who'd seen my scars and called them beautiful. At these children who'd needed a mother and somehow decided I was perfect for the job. At the life we'd built from the ashes of our separate griefs. Yes, I whispered, then louder, yes, yes, yes. Jack slipped the ring onto my finger, a simple band with 3 small stones, one for each of us, he explained, and Anna launched herself at us both while Thomas clapped with dignified approval. Are we going to have a wedding? Anna asked excitedly. We're going to have the best wedding, I promised. With flowers and cake and dancing and everything. And Captain Bubbles can be the ring bearer, Thomas added. I'm not sure goldfish are typically included in wedding ceremonies, Jack said diplomatically. Our wedding, our rules, I said firmly. Captain Bubbles can absolutely participate. As we sat there making plans and eating slightly burnt butterfly pancakes and being gloriously, messily, perfectly happy together, I thought about the woman I'd been 8 months ago. The woman who'd believed she was broken, defective, not enough. I thought about Cal, who'd last we heard was attending court-mandated therapy while navigating a difficult custody arrangement with Lisa, who'd had a healthy baby girl and was thriving as a single mother with a supportive family. I thought about Dr. Martinez, who'd called to apologize personally for the administrative error that had caused so much pain, and to confirm once again that there had never been anything wrong with my body, my fertility, or my worth as a woman. But mostly, I thought about grace. About second chances. About how sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin in the most unlikely places, behind dumpsters in thunderstorms, in the space between one family's ending and another's beginning. Mama Rose, Anna said, syrup on her chin and pure joy in her eyes, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking, I said, pulling her closer, about how sometimes the best things in life come disguised as problems. How sometimes what feels like an ending is actually just a beginning in a really good disguise. Like how Daddy being sad after Mommy died was actually the beginning of us finding you? Thomas asked. Exactly like that, sweetheart. Jack reached across the table and took my hand, his thumb running over my new engagement ring. Ready for our new beginning, Mrs. Almost Blaine? More than ready, Mr. Blaine. More than ready. And that's our story, beautiful souls. A story about a woman who thought she was broken until she found a family that showed her she was exactly who they needed. About love that doesn't require you to be perfect, just present. About the difference between being chosen despite your complications and being chosen because of them. I want to hear from you now. What hit you the deepest in Rose's journey? Was it the betrayal, the healing, the moment she realized her worth? Drop a comment below and tell me what part of this story resonated with your own heart. And honestly, I need your brutal opinion here. Did this story make you feel something real? Did it remind you that you're not broken, just human? Are you Team Jack from the beginning, or did it take a while to trust him with Rose's heart? Also, and this might sound weird, but how are you feeling about my storytelling voice? Does it draw you in, or does it feel like too much? I'm always trying to improve how I connect with you through these stories, so your honest feedback means everything. If this story touched something in you, if it made you believe in second chances and unexpected families and love that chooses you exactly as you are, hit that subscribe button and stick around. Because every single one of you deserves a love story this beautiful, and I want to keep reminding you of that truth. Until next time, remember, you're not broken. You're not too much. You're not enough. You're exactly who someone out there is hoping to find. Love you all. See you in the next story.